Throughout history, empires rose not only through armies and wealth, but through fear. When people think about powerful empires, they often imagine great buildings, strong rulers, and disciplined societies. But behind this image was something darker. Control was often maintained through punishments so severe that it terrified entire populations. These punishments were not only meant to hurt the body, they were designed to break the spirit. Empires believed that fear worked faster than kindness. A single punishment seen by many could silence thousands. Today we will explore 20 of the most horrific punishments ever used by empires. What makes them truly terrifying is not just the pain, but the reason behind them. These punishments were tools of power, control, and warning. This is not just history. This is a lesson. Punishment as a tool of fear. Empires ruled large populations with different languages, beliefs, and cultures. Communication was slow. Laws were not always written, so punishment became a message. When someone was punished publicly, it was not about justice, it was about control. The suffering of one person was meant to protect the throne. Fear replaced loyalty, silence replaced resistance. Now let us begin. 1. Scaphism, death by nature. Used in ancient Persia, scaphism was one of the most disturbing punishments ever recorded. The victim was trapped between wooden structures, leaving parts of the body exposed. They were fed and kept alive while nature slowly took over. Insects and animals became part of the punishment. This was not a quick death. It was slow and humiliating. The empire wanted people to understand one thing: disobedience would not be forgiven. 2. Crucifixion, slow death in public. Crucifixion is often linked to the Roman Empire. It was not only about killing someone, it was about public shame. Victims were placed in visible areas where people passed daily. Death took a long time. The goal was not mercy but endurance of suffering. Rome used crucifixion to warn slaves and rebels. It said clearly, the empire does not forgive betrayal. 3. Lynching, death by 1,000 cuts. In Imperial China, lynching was used for serious crimes like treason. It involved prolonged punishment designed to remove dignity and identity. This punishment was symbolic. It showed that betraying the emperor meant losing everything, even your place in history. The empire believed loyalty must be protected at any cost. 4. Impalement, rule through terror. Impalement became infamous in parts of Eastern Europe and the Ottoman-influenced regions. Victims were displayed for long periods. This punishment relied heavily on fear and visibility. The bodies were left as warnings. Empires using impalement ruled not through love, but terror. 5. Brazen bull, screams turned into sound. The brazen bull was a hollow metal structure shaped like an animal. It was used in ancient times to execute prisoners. The design turned suffering into sound. The purpose was not only death but psychological terror for those listening. The empire wanted fear to echo. 6. Blood eagle, ritualized violence. Linked to Norse culture, the blood eagle was rare but symbolic. It was more ritual than punishment. It was used to show dominance and revenge. Empires and kingdoms used ritual punishments to give violence meaning. This made cruelty feel justified. 7. Breaking on the wheel, bones as a message. This punishment was common in medieval Europe. The victim was tied to a wheel and publicly punished. The wheel itself became a symbol. Once placed in public, it reminded people of consequences. Pain became law. 8. Cruelty, buried alive with animals. Ancient Rome used this punishment for crimes like killing family members. The victim was placed inside a sack with animals and thrown into water. It was meant to erase the person completely. Rome believed some crimes deserved removal from humanity itself. 9. Flaying, skin as a warning. Flaying involved removing skin and displaying it publicly. Empires used this punishment not just to kill, but to shock. It destroyed identity. The message was clear: defy the ruler and lose your humanity. 10. Drowning cages, death by time. Some empires used cages placed in rivers or tides. Victims were trapped as water slowly rose. This punishment used time as a weapon. There was no escape. It symbolized the empire's patience and control. 11. The rack, pain without death. The rack was designed to cause extreme pain without killing the victim. It was often used to extract confessions. Truth did not matter. Control did. Empires preferred obedience over justice. 12. Strapato, suspended suffering. Used by various empires, this punishment involved lifting the victim by the arms. It caused intense pain but left few visible marks. This made it useful for quiet control. Pain could be hidden but fear spread quickly. 13. Burning at the stake, faith and fear. Used during religious empires and inquisitions. Burning at the stake punished heresy. This punishment was public and symbolic. Fire was seen as purification. Empires used belief to justify cruelty. 14. Forced labor camps, death by exhaustion. Some empires avoided public punishment and instead used labor camps. People worked until their bodies failed. Death was slow and silent. This punishment was efficient and invisible. 15. Mutilation punishments, living warnings. Hands, ears, or noses were removed as punishment in some empires. These people were allowed to live as walking warnings. Fear followed them everywhere. 16. Exile with no return, silent death. Exile sounds mild, but in ancient times it meant isolation. People lost family, protection, and identity. The empire erased them without blood. 17. Punishment of families, collective fear. Some empires punished entire families for one crime. This created internal control. People watched each other. Fear entered homes, not just streets. 18. Psychological punishments, mind as a prison. Isolation, humiliation, and uncertainty were powerful tools. Empires learned that breaking the mind was often easier than breaking the body. Fear became permanent. 19. Why empires loved cruel punishment. Cruel punishments were cheap. They required no armies. One execution could control thousands. Fear saved resources. 20. How people accepted these systems. Over time, people accepted cruelty as normal. Children grew up watching punishment. Fear became culture. When punishment failed, eventually fear stopped working. People rebelled. Empires collapsed. Cruelty creates silence, not loyalty. Collapse of brutal empires. History shows us something clear. Empires built on fear always fall. Pain cannot replace justice forever. Lessons from this dark history. Punishment should protect society, not destroy humanity. Power without mercy leads to ruin. History warns us again and again. Conclusion: why we must remember. These punishments were real. The suffering was real. Remembering them is not about shock. It is about understanding power. Because when fear rules, humanity disappears. And history must never be repeated.